Welcome to the world of Grandma Dawn. Soon, in the year 2021, to become Grandma on the Hill. And ironically, it may be because I actually move off the hill. I've been on the hill for a dozen years. Yeah. Well, if you haven't followed my other, which I don't expect one to have done, videos, then you can see a couple years ago my teeth chipped. Because I constantly was using it for opening things, And I don't know, it could have even been a bag of chips, but one day I think it was popcorn. One day it just went kerplunk. And now I had this hole. Which I find terribly annoying. However, we can get it fixed someday. So I'm apologizing up front for not having fixed my teeth. Hey, to be honest, I think my children rarely went to the dentist. A couple of times, but rarely in their lives. I mean, being a single mother, raising children and teenagers in particular, was all involving, Truth. I mean, practically every penny of my paycheck went to raising kids. And there just wasn't enough to have that go to the dentist or, wow, talk about not enough. It's huge packaging for such a tiny little bit. But you know what? It's Quebec's, probably, I don't know where it's out of. It's called Green Crush. And it's sativa. And we shall see by the end of this, because I'm going to smoke it and see if it makes me go sparkle, sparkle in my brain. So we've talked before. Yeah. I'm looking to the future. Most of the people my age, I talk to them and they keep talking about the past. And it's fun because, when you're getting to know someone in particular, well, I'm a little bit surprised how people have got the details of the past. And I went to a high school reunion, I don't know, 20 years ago, past now, back in my late 40s, I think. It's like a 25th year or something. You guys know. And, oops, there's no chamomile for my joints. I don't smoke tobacco anymore, so I put chamomile in. And it really sweetens the joint, regardless of how the pot tastes. It just softens it. And it doesn't put a big flavor in it. It just softens everything. And I gotta find some way, pot's expensive. It's one of my biggest expenses. Other than in the wintertime, oil for the house is at the actual biggest expense. When you consider that I live in a fucking 4-bedroom house all by myself, it's just plain stupid. Well, to continue it, or to continue thinking I should stay here because I shouldn't. It could be much better used. There's a huge basement that's, it could be turned into a fabulous house. With work, because Don did not do any maintenance. And the window broke. I mean, it was a double pane, so I buried the bird that ran into it, but, the broken window stayed. Another time I was mowing the front lawn and a piece of the pointing of the chimney had fallen down into the lawn, like little pieces of brick and stuff. So I guess the lawnmower caught it and spit it out and broke another double pane window, but only the one pane, right? So, And when I first moved to this house, again, please, I'm not complaining. Let me just tell you the humor of my life. I'm thankful that I own my own place outright. That I'm sitting here poverty-stricken, basically, but that's just liquid asset. The fact is I own this 25 acres. I own this house, outright. I own property. I may owe, 2 years of property tax or something, but, it's nothing compared to the value of the house. And here we are. There's no sense for me to stay here anymore. I once had grandchildren in the area. It's just no reason to stay here. So, the only reason is that this is the way where this is my dog's home. They've been here all their lives. They're like 10 years old. And maybe they're 9. but they've been here all their lives, and they have free reign. They don't go all that far, but within 2 kilometer range, pretty much everybody knows them, and they know pretty much every dog and cat in the area. They know where people are really upset with them, and they don't go there anymore. It's okay. I understand if people don't want my dogs on their lawn, and I apologize if my dogs poop on their lawn. I actually do my best. See, in the morning, they've been in the house all night. You figure they're going to go pee and they got to poop, right? Usually they don't poop till they've had a little bit of a run. So what I've ended up doing is letting one out at a time early in the morning. And that one, he won't go far all by himself. So he'll hang around and he'll do a walk, he'll do a sniff, see what critters went by in the night, and then he'll want back in. And when he wants in, I let the other one out. Now the other one, he roams by himself, no problem. Everybody loves him too. And he loves people and other animals and whatever. They get along with the horses next door, so we're good. So what were we saying? And I haven't even smoked a joint yet. Bear and Vega, doggies, running in the morning. Yeah. And so I kind of worked it out such that, they don't go out together and then, full force go running down the field into someone else's yard and do their poops. So I've tried to mitigate that, I think, pretty well. I have to be considerate of the neighbors because, really, it's a bit obnoxious to have other people's big dogs. We are in the country. And it's not like a bear wandering up to their house, and they are friendly, more or less, and they're not, they're not carrying ticks or fleas. They've got their, I'm still giving them meds. This only just snowed this week, right? And the deer go through here, and the coyotes go through here. Although the coyotes migrate, is seasonally in the spring and in the fall, late fall, early winter. They left a month or so ago, and they'll be back again in the spring. They tend to live in the forest across the road during the summer. And they always go right past my house, the top of one of my fields right here. And I've seen them, and my dogs know them. And well, I don't let the dogs play with them anymore. When the dogs were little, they played with one of the little ones, literally with a dog toy. However, and I remember this last spring when they first came. They came back to go live at their summer home across the road from me. It's way in the woods there. It's not like I can see it, but my dogs know it, and they know when they wake up and all of that. So, yeah. And I'd had a couple of weed trees. I'm going to light this joint. What am I smoking? Oh, I told you. It's a Green Crush. It's a sativa. And I usually smoke pretty high THC, so let's see what this THC is. At least 20. This is 21.5%. Whoop-de-loo. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I need to take my nail polish off. I apologize. It's all chipped and ugly like that. Yeah, I was trying to save my nails because they were... Anyways, all good, all good, all good. You don't need to see up my nose. Okay. So... we're talking about the migration of the coyotes in eastern Ontario. So at first, when I moved in here and I recognized that there was like a trail along the top of my hill, just at any rate, beside my house, I thought, oh my God, I bet they've been using this trail for thousands of years. And the Indians, way back when, before the white man came here, knew that this was a coyote trail. But then I looked into it, and even though there's like there are coyotes in eastern Ontario, and they're new, somewhat, a little bit older than me. I think it was the 1940s or something that they started migrating up here from the south in the United States, the eastern states. We did not have the eastern coyote. We didn't have coyotes up here apparently since before then. Apparently. I don't remember, but I looked this up a while ago. So the point was that ancient trail really wasn't an ancient trail. It's relatively new, and that's all okay too. But the coyotes, they do leave. The muskrats, they also, the muskrats, I think that they have a land home in the winter, like a den or something, that's not in the water. But then they migrate in the spring to their little river, pond, creek, lake that they go to, and they build like burrows into the wall of the river, just like right at the water level or at the top. I think it's not quite like beavers who build in the river and make dams. The muskrats build into the wall, like burrows into the walls of the lake and the rivers and the streams, which is kind of cool. I figured that out. I learned that a while ago too, when one of the dogs caught a muskrat, and I looked up muskrats, and way back when they used to hunt muskrats in the area. They've been certainly around here since the Indians, that's for sure, because they found out how muskrats. A lot of small animals are eaten. You live in the country. I'm not talking about nowadays, but way back when. A lot of small animals, such as muskrats, but muskrats are not. It's not like a rabbit that you can just, throw it in the roaster. No, because a muskrat is so full of tendons, they literally, to cook it, even in a fire, or in the oven, or however they're going to do it. And the hillbillies and the Appalachian Mountains and stuff, and Appalachia. Maybe they're not hillbillies. Maybe that's a derogatory term. And forgive me, I don't mean to use derogatory terms. I'm just really quite ignorant about what is and what isn't derogatory, because I just kind of stay out of, the usual daily news. It's the same shit, nothing important. As far as I'm concerned, nothing that interests me. Right, where was I? We were talking about the muskrats and the foxes. And, to cook a muskrat, because they're tendons, when you cook them, the tendons like curl, like the fat on beef or something, on a steak. Sometimes gristle on a steak. If you don't cut it when it's, then the whole steak kind of curls up because it contracts. The fat contracts. Well, the same somehow. The muscles of the tendons in the muskrats contract. Okay, this is totally uninteresting to anybody, I'm sure, but this is the kind of thing I look up and I figure out, and like I'm a Wikipedia, a Grammapedia of trivial information. So the muskrats, let's get back to the muskrats. They literally had to build a wooden cross for every muskrat they cooked, because they had to splay them open and nail them down. D'accord. So that it wouldn't all like curl up and then cook inconsistently or something. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to eat muskrats. So the other one is the foxes. Now, ever since I moved here, I know you don't really hear foxes. They call them sly because they stay pretty quiet. There's a couple things to talk about that. A fox den smells skunky, which is really interesting. When there's a den that has young kits in it, or before there's young kits, when the mama goes into the den, and they copulate in the fall, right, or something, or in the winter. So their babies are born like February, March, at least around here. The baby kit foxes, and let me light this joint. The baby kit foxes. Yeah. So foxes are generally they're considered sly, partially because they're so very quiet. Foxes are quiet. You don't hear them yipping much, But in the spring, with the young kits, there's often like a week or two where you may hear early in the morning, like when the birds wake me up at 4 in the morning, by like 5:30, you may hear the kits waking up, and they make little yips, and mommy hasn't taught them yet, or hasn't been able to teach them because they're so young, to shut the F up. So I can hear them down in the forest, down by the stream. So I've heard them since I moved here 12, 13 years ago in the spring. But then you don't hear them again after that. But this summer, I caught my dogs and this one fox playing in the neighbor's field over there, like chasing each other. Well, I thought they were hunting them, but they seemed to be playing. The little fox would stick his head up, the dogs would see it, the little fox would go down and zoom through the grass, and the dogs would go looping after him, and they'd sniff where he was, and it was quite great. Then I saw them again in the other field, way up there, across the field, like they're doing this whole area, and in my woods, and I think maybe my dogs decided to catch him. Maybe. We'll find out next spring if he's still around. But it was a young one. He's probably like born this year. This silly thing, making friends with the dogs. But I did catch my dogs. Were in a swamp way down there the other day. Literally. Now, here's a story for you. It's close to the railroad tracks, and all these workmen have been there for like a month now or something. And they take breaks, right? They're working on the railroad tracks. And I'm sitting in my office upstairs in my house, a whole field away from the railroad tracks, with all my windows closed and the heater blowing, like making noise, and the computer on. And I could hear the sound through all the hum. It's like, like a mom can hear the baby waking up. I could hear the sound to the point where I went, what's that? Turned the sound down on the computer, focused on listening, and yes, I could still hear sounds. I went to the door, I opened the door, and I could still hear the sound. And then I know that sound. That was my dogs. They've caught something, a little creature together. One of my dogs is the real hunter. The other one, he's like, the younger brother, like, oh boy, look what we've done. Oh, I'm here, let me do, what can I do, what can I do? Where he's actually, a bit of a wuss and he would not do it unless his big brother was there. And then his brother actually pushes him into he was the one that got skunked a couple times until he learned, His brother sort of said, no, you go on that end, This is what I imagine. I animate their conversations, and I'm sure dogs don't have conversations, but they do have a pack mentality. They do hunt together. Like one of them gets to the bottom of the hill, and one of them gets to the top of the hill. This is at nighttime. I can hear them. And one of them's like, he's not making a sound other than I can hear him running back and forth. And, back and forth across the top of the hill like this. And the other one I can hear way down at the bottom over there going woof, 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 woof. Trying to say any little creature that's in this field, hey, there's a woof, woof down here. You want to go up? Sending the creatures towards Bear, the one that's at the top of the hill. So there's but this is instinct, they say, there's a strategy. There's strategy that they hunt together. Fascinating. Yeah. Had I finished talking about the coyotes? Yeah, I had, and then I was talking about the foxes. So yeah, and here's the story. I hear the sound. So, and I'm now standing at the front door. Now, okay. I have on my, I wear Uggs in the house. So I have on my house Uggs, which I really don't walk out on the street. And I have on my, like cotton long pajama pants and long pajama sheets. And my, really old and beat up men's Chinese house coat robe, And I hear my dogs have caught something and I got to get there. So I'm not a runner. I don't even have that much energy anymore. So I run down my driveway. I start running down the street. And literally, you got to see this. It's like, I don't know, 600 yards, whatever. An entire fucking white CN, like a school bus, but it's white and it says CN on it, of men, worth of men. And about 4, 5, 6 different white CN trucks. So there's a whack of men down there, all in their fucking lunch break, of course, And here, and it's quiet. We're out in the country. It's quiet. You hear the birds, maybe a dog barking in the distance, Maybe a from a horse, right? It's quiet. And here this lady goes running. I'm running down. Oh, I'm running and huffing and puffing. And my house coat is flailing and my hair is flailing. And I bend down and I pick up a stick and I'm wailing the stick and running down the street. Running. And now someone has noticed me, and I guess, they're in different cars and trucks and whatever. I guess they have like CB or whatever. They're talking to each other somewhat. And so one of them notices this crazy lady flailing down the street with a stick in her hand, And so he sort of gets out of the car. Like, what's wrong? He sort of hollers at me, and the other guys sort of start to notice. And then I'm going, they're dogs, don't you hear them? and the dogs were more or less kind of a little bit further past them, and then off into the woods, past a field. So now that they're out of their trucks and the bus and their vans and stuff, they can hear the growling or whatever it is that's going on, the excitement of catching something. And so these men, I'm not quite there yet. These men go down the path towards the woods, which I'm heading to, but I'm not there yet. And they're ahead of me, and I'm huffing and I'm puffing, and I go, it's my dogs, they've got something. I don't know what this stupid little stick was going to do in my hand. I guess, I didn't know what they had, and if I had to hit it, I would hit it, I don't know. But so the two men, one man and then another man behind him, and then me, like a bit of space in between. So I'm hollering ahead, can you see them? Can you see them? And he goes, yeah, I can see one of them. And so that one starts to come out, and so the other one starts to come out too, and they come, and I just get to the edge of the woods, and the two men and the dogs come towards me, and And I looked at the dogs and I said, "You go home." And they sort of like put their heads down and their tail between their legs, and they wandered back to the road, and then up across the tracks, and then over into my field, and I'm quite a ways from home here, you know, and I'm huffing and I'm puffing and stuff. At any rate, it was quite the scene. I'm sure they all talked about it over dinner that night, you know. "Oh, you should have seen this crazy lady," you know. At any rate, a bear wears a choke collar, like a regular choke collar, not the claws, not as, yeah. And those things are hard to come off, in a sense, but his was off. I think, and just as I was on the field, and just as I got up to the woods, like where they were, I mean, like, I didn't know what they had. I thought it was maybe like a raccoon, or there's beaver down there, or maybe muskrat or something. But then I heard the sound. I think it might have been the fox. So the point being, Bear's choke collar's gone with his ID and stuff, right? So I imagine the fox got his tooth stuck in it or something, and he got quite twisted. The dogs are at him from front and back. I'm quite sure he died in that swamp. At any rate, it's what the life of having dogs. I call them my boys, and you know, boys rough and tumble. And so that was the latest adventure of Grandma on the Hill, or what do we call me here? Yeah, Grandma. So that's that. Bye. I'm coming right back with another one. Or should I break it up? No, I'm coming back. Thanks.